All right, here we go. Dealin Hope number 2. Totally cranked tonight because we have an awesome friend of ours, Mark Wargo from Port Huron, Michigan, who's written an amazing book, and you can get that book on Amazon or you can get it straight from his website at crosscurrent.tv, and you can get a hold of this amazing and important book because so many of us have encountered betrayal on so many situations and so many levels. Hey, Mark, I see you, man. I'll invite you in here in just a second. We'll pop in here, screen and go for this tonight. It's going to be awesome. We're so thrilled that Mark put this book out. We're so thrilled for his journey and who he is and what he's doing. So it's going to be an amazing night. Important stuff going on in this live tonight. So hit some thumbs, hit some hearts if you would. I can't imagine anybody in your friends or in your Facebook world that would not benefit from this. So I can't encourage you enough to hit the share button and put it on your wall. You're going to be thrilled by hearing from Mark Wargo, and your friends are going to be impacted as well. So comment tonight. We want to do some interaction. Mark and I are going in window here in a second, and he's going to share for a few minutes, and then we're going to interact and engage. Thanks for all the hearts and thumbs. And then if you've got any questions or any comments that you would like to interact with, please put those below, and let's do this together tonight. All right, Mark, I'm going to bring you in, man. So if you hit accept, you should pop in here, window in just a second, and we'll get going with this tonight. Powerful time. Thanks so many of you out there already going for it. Any of the Cross Current family, glad you're on here tonight. Can't wait to get back up there with you. Thrilled with what's going on. So let's see if Mark's getting in here. I'm sure he's finding the accept button and doing that. I think I have done what I need, but Mark, you might need to make sure, I think you already have, made sure your camera is sideways or your phone is sideways. And now, there we go. He's coming on in.
What's up, bud?
How you doing?
I'm awesome. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Even better now that you're on here with us. It's awesome, man. So I see, of course, what I expected to see in your background. No way.
There it is.
Right there it is. When you've got a Buckeye as myself, you know that you've had to work through some stuff and get beyond betrayal when you're good friends with a Michigan fan, right? So
there it is for you right there, buddy.
That's it. Getting it out there and getting it done. But hey, listen, man, your book is amazing. What you're doing is amazing. Cross Current is an amazing, healthy, thriving community in Port Huron, doing amazing things, impacting the city, impacting your community. And it's so much so, we all know we're not trying to just prop a certain person, but the reality is you have led that congregation so well through some very difficult situations. You explain a lot of that in your book and give that background and give that story, but you went through some tough situations and then have been able to be the one that God has empowered and graced to be able to walk not only yourselves, for you and your wife and your son Corey, but then for the congregation at large, the leadership and the body. You've been able to bring them forward and bring them through some challenging things, and what you've gained through that is so powerful that so many others need that. So, man, you're such a hope dealer. You got hope slinging everywhere, and I would love to have you just maybe take some time tonight and really speak into that. How did you guys get beyond betrayal? What are you talking about with that?
Well, the whole book came out because we were going through some things, and you know, for me to sit here, you say some great stuff, and you say stuff about me, but we've got an awesome team, bro.
Yeah, I know them. I love the team.
We've got an awesome staff, and you know, there's no way in the world that Tracy and I could have led it without the staff that we have. You know, the fact that, you know, all of them came through the storm with us, came through the stuff with us, and made decisions along the way to continue staying in unity, you know, continue building, continue, going through the stuff we went through. And, the whole reason for the book, there's actually a couple reasons why the book was written. One is to reveal this idea that, I don't mean to be a downer, a Debbie Downer, but all of us have an ability to betray. If you think about it, the day that the Lord spoke to me about betrayal, that we are one decision away from another church split. Think about that.
Right. Wow.
It's very sobering, right?
Right.
And, so that really hit home to me that we're only one decision away. And
no
the
doubt.
issue is my heart, has always been for the local church. I've always loved the local church, but as I was going through this book, I came across this stat, and this stat is kind of staggering, that this year alone, there would be approximately 19,000 major church conflicts that lead to splits.
Wow.
That's about 50 a day.
Wow.
And I realized that it's more than just what happened in Port Huron with people that couldn't get along and people that were fighting and going through some stuff. I realized that it's a nationwide thing. It's a worldwide thing.
Right.
And
right.
so my heart in writing the book was to reveal and to allow people to kind of just have an awareness to, you and I all have an opportunity to betray, but also for those who have been betrayed. For years, I've been in leadership for years, and I've always heard we need healthy leaders. We need healthy leaders. And the more I stay in this thing, the more I realize we need healed leaders. And we need people that are healed. Because, Eric, you've been in ministry a long time too. There are a lot of wounded leaders. There's a lot of wounded people in ministry. People that are still in the pulpit, right? They're doing what they're called to do, but they're still wounded. They don't know where to go with this stuff. They don't know sometimes what to do, how to process it. And I want to be one of those guys that can be some wind in their sails to say, there's hope in this. And you may be going through the worst storm of your life and people betraying you and people, stabbing you in the back, people you never thought would stab you in the back. And I want to be that voice that says, you can get on the other side of it. This isn't the end of your story. This is just one of the chapters. And I'm so glad I stayed the course. I'm so glad we stayed the course because, Eric, we're seeing some amazing things now. We're seeing the kingdom of God advance. We're seeing a church come alive in a way that's so exciting. And I can't thank God enough. I can't thank the staff enough and the people that have been around me.
That's awesome, man. And not so much just for quote numbers sake, but trying to make this practical to give people that would have obviously no idea who you are, some of the dynamics that was in play, when things were, the congregation that was previous was a very sizable congregation. Am I right? Into the thousands.
We would have, 13, 14, 1,500 on Easter, right? And, running 9 to 1,200 on a regular basis and had great influence in the community and, great stuff was going on and there was just couldn't get along and there was just betrayal. There was things that went on. There were control issues. There were personal agendas, there was selfish ambition. And that's what we call in the book, the three-headed monster. That's my creativity, right? Wow. But the three-headed monster, but it's everywhere.
The three-headed monster is, I thought your book did so well. You've already brought up the one point to say that we all can be betrayers. And in some way, I'm sure we have, right? Maybe you've not you meaning Mark, but anybody watching, maybe you even recognize areas in your own place that, we've all betrayed somewhere or been betrayed, right? Maybe there's a place even sharing the story in some comments or something that'll let us know what that's been for you. But your book does so well to not just point a finger away at everyone else as the problem. I was so impacted by it that it caused me to point the finger right back this way and look in the mirror and begin to challenge myself, as you just talked about, with that three-headed monster, right? How am I not living as that three-headed monster? And I thought that was
funny. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, boss.
No, go ahead. You're good.
It was funny you say that because this book took 6 years to release.
Wow.
And after about 3.5, 4 years, I was done writing. And I was like, okay, Lord, I'm ready to release it. And he says, no, you're not. I said, what do you mean? I'm done writing. This book's going to be huge if we continue. And he says, no, I've got to now work this stuff in you so I can work it through you.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
and so there was some things, and I didn't want to write the book out of anger and pointing a finger at an individual. And I really wanted to be a blessing for people. I wanted to be a thing of saying, there's hope in this, man.
Yeah.
And I realized when I was reading the book, Eric, that, you know, I was frustrated because of all the betrayal and all the stuff. The Lord spoke to me one day. He goes, you're in good company, because I was betrayed.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Right.
and I know it sounds light, but when you're going through it, it's not as light.
No, it's
But
legit.
I will say that there is light at the end of the tunnel. God
Yeah.
didn't plan to leave us into betrayal, leave us stuck there. There's a
Yeah.
purpose that he wants to bring out of it. There's a greater story in the midst of
Yeah.
betrayal, and we're seeing that today.
Man, you know, when it's amazing how when someone who's willing to actually walk through what we're able to then release and impart to others because we've experienced it, lived through it, we now really have an authority in that, and you and your whole team really have that, if I can use that word, as an
Yeah.
authority on in those situations that really bring healing. I mean, I know you're now doing these Beyond Betrayal weekends or
Yeah.
conferences in different places around the country, working with multiple. I mean, how many, even watching now, I'm seeing quite a few viewers in this live in this moment. Anybody watching on replay, how many of you pastors, leaders, other ministers, business owners, business leaders, which is a pretty dog eat dog kind of world, right? Kind of a deal that you know that you've been wounded deeply, marked deeply, penetrated by the results of betrayal. You know, Mark and Tracy and his whole team have been doing such an awesome job in walking in now the grace that's on them, that's able to release healing and bring others through healing as well. So I can't encourage you enough. If you know that's a spot in your life, an area, maybe even for your congregation, maybe your congregation, your business, and maybe even areas in people's own families and their homes have been through
Yeah.
splits, betrayals, breakups, you know, those kind of things. Man, I can't encourage everybody enough to really consider how Mark can be a resource and help to you guys, not only through his book, but even him being there in person, sharing, etc. Because the thing that I found out about you, Mark, is that you're the real deal, and that your real life. And I love your book was so transparent. It wasn't like you were speaking about obviously somebody else and everybody else. You were speaking from you and who you are, and it's powerful. This three-headed monster. All right, let me back up. I think we got off track a little bit. So we had this fairly sizable congregation, but kind of where you ended up taking point leadership, things had really whittled down. And I just thought maybe it would be helpful for people to understand where that really had whittled down to, and then now back to where you guys are thriving again. Give us some of that scope of what the life that's now returned.
Right. Well, you know, at one time, like I said, we're averaging 900 to 11, 1,200 people on a Sunday, and had great influence. I mean, Eric, we had great. The worship was kicking. The youth ministry was, you know, rocking at about 250 kids on an average on a weekly basis, and you know, things were happening. They were popping and shaking all over the place, and you know, we just couldn't get it together. We couldn't get along. We couldn't keep it together, and I mean, relationally. And when I look back, and I was not perfect in the situation, I've actually had to go back and apologize and repent to people because along my journey I've done some things wrong. But being here the whole time and watching this thing dwindle and people leave and you know, love dearly and still love today, and watching the finances go down, you know, the fact that we had a 90,000 square foot facility and we had to sell that off. And there was things that we lost along the way, and the most important thing was relationships. And but here we are today, and this church had to pick up. This also picked up, went down the road. We renovated a bowling alley. We now are the Holy Bowlers, man. Come on. And yeah, Doug, absolutely right. Our phrase along the way has been those who remain become champions. And we feel like today we have a group of people. We call ourselves a motley crew, man. We just a little bit of everybody, coming together. It's a bag of Skittles kind of church. But man, we are learning to love each other, things out, work things out, putting our hands to the plow together. And the rebuilding is not the limelights, right? Most people don't know how things are going except if you're there at the church. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Father being happy. I'm okay with the church being alive, and praise and worship is alive again, and it's exciting. Eric, there was a day when you couldn't even really hear the people singing. That's how sad it had become.
I remember this story.
From all the... Pardon me? Did I lose you, buddy?
Oh, I just said I remember that part. No, you there? I was saying I remember that part of the story where the singing had just kind of went away, and now back to the life that you guys are booming with. It's amazing. Or even now, even writing your own music, right?
I know. Yeah, worship team, the CC Worship, they're writing their own stuff and want to produce an album and all that because they feel like it's some hope and some life for people around the nation. But I mean, now when I play bass on Sunday mornings, and I can hear the people singing louder than the music is in my ears. And I'm telling you, it brings tears to my eyes because I know that it is a sound that Father is listening to and Father is giving attention to, because it's not about being perfect. It's about our hearts unified for the common purpose of advancing the kingdom.
Right, man. It's so maybe here's some questions. Maybe you guys are throwing some stuff up there. I'm trying to scroll through in the moment that maybe Mark can help add in. Even if you're in the playback, you can throw some questions or input, or if you want to get connected with Mark, friend him on Facebook, check him out again. You can get his book at crosscurrent.tv. And this wasn't just about promoting Mark's book per se, though I'm very happy to do that. But the reality is that all of us have experienced some kind of betrayal, wounds, heartaches in ways that we really need to go beyond that and find and live out healing and health and the reality of hope, because we're not going to see all that can be accomplished in the glory that's able to be released while we're still walking around wounded. We all know this, right? Hurt people do what? Hurt people, right? And so healthier people get to do what? So that's what we're at, because the reality that hope is here is the reality that you are that you're walking in. And Aaron, thanks. Yes, I was going to come back to that. Even right now, was to Mark to have you come back to that three-headed monster and just talk about that briefly for a few more minutes and before we wrap up tonight. Thanks for so many of you watching. Thumbs up, shares, all the above. It's awesome.
Yes, thank you. Hey, all CC, it's good to hear from you. And all you other people, man, it's so good to see your names on there. But I do want to take a moment and talk about the three-headed monster. It's a big part of the book. I remember when I was driving down one of the roads here, and it was right when I took over as senior pastor. And the Lord whispered to me, and he said, "Do you want to know what you're dealing with?" I said, "Okay, yeah, show me what I'm dealing with," right? Or I didn't even know I was really dealing. I knew with some things, but I spoke these things. He said, there's three things that we're going to have to weed out in order to build. One of them was control issues. The other one was personal agendas. And the other one was selfish ambition. And so as I began to study those out, we all know what control issues are, right? This is basically when we put our own stuff above God's and God's leaders, and we do it our own way. We know control issues fairly well. So I started breaking down this personal agenda idea, and I started breaking down the selfish ambition idea. And basically, personal agenda boils down to rebellion. Going outside the lines of how God wants something done, or a particular leader, it's basically rebellion. And it stems all the way from what, Lucifer did. And no surprise. But this stems all the way back to that, a personal agenda, an agenda that goes above God's agenda. The other part is his selfish ambition, and basically that is, in a nutshell, it's strife. And we had in our church, Eric, it was so amazing. I went to the staff and I was like, guys, I feel like God spoke this to me, that I just want us to kind of mull it over. I want to kind of just hear what your hearts are on it. And we didn't even go public with it, Eric. All we did was start to talk about it. And we saw these three things begin to manifest around the church. All of a sudden, it was like, okay, this is definitely a word from the Lord. This is timing, because we have control issues, right? We have people that have agenda issues. We have people that were in strife. And there was strife in relationships, one after the other. And we knew this was going to take some time. But this three-headed monster, I'm telling you, it's amazing because it runs deep. And, for us, it was in for a long time. And I've talked with pastors and they're like, well, can't I just pray it out? And the truth of the matter is, no, you can't just pray. Yeah, you want to pray along the way, but you can't just pray it out, because these are people issues. And the truth of the matter is, betrayal happens when people are connected and are motivated in this three-headed monster. People who have control, let's just talk real. Can we talk real on here? You and I always talk real, right? In denominational settings, there's a lot of control, right? There's how long are we going to have a board meeting to decide what color paint we're going to paint the walls, right? And so there's control. I mean, I remember when when we started talking about over a senior pastor during worship. Well, you would have thought I brought Satan in to lead worship, man. It was just like people left the church. They were all ticked off. They were yelling about it. And I was like, what is happening? All I did was turn down the lights, but this three-headed monster runs deep. I mean, you see it in marriages. You see it. I'm not saying everyone. I'm not trying to say it's everywhere, but you do see it. And I remember I went to this church down south to minister, and they said, well, we'll just have you in because we want to hear about this book. And so I went to minister about this book. And as I was talking about the three-headed monster, one of their staff members came forward the next day and repented, because they were having these thoughts, these vain imaginations. They were having these things going on that they were about to cause a major problem in the church. And this particular Beyond Betrayal weekend actually saved a church issue. And the pastor didn't even realize it was going on. And so it runs deep. And what happens, it sets up shop in the quiet of our minds. We might not even be able to be saying anything, but this three-headed monster works in the quiet. You know what I mean? I know more than him. I can do better than him. I've got this. You understand, right? You've been around, but my heart breaks for the pastors who get blindsided. And that's what betrayal does. It blindsides you, and it knocks the wind out of you, and it hurts. And then you're trying to get your breath back, and then more things happen. And it's just a sad state when I see pastors that they're pushing through, and they need to, right? They need to push through, but they're not alive on the inside, Eric. And they're not alive because of this betrayal, because of they have people in their church or in leadership that have control. And so there's no life in leading. It's just going through the motions. And man, God never intended for, I think on your wall, you have something about being alive. Could you imagine everyone, if they could just live life to the fullest? Something along those lines is on your wall. And that's so true. But sadly, with about 350,000 churches in America, there's a lot of pastors who aren't living alive. There's a lot of leaders who are doing it, but are dead and wounded and hurt. And this three-headed monster has done a job.
Yeah, right on. Man, you guys are eating this up. I can tell. Thanks for all of you sticking in, viewing. comments, shares, all the above.
Yeah.
But I saw a question from my good friend here near me locally, Pastor Josh French, who asked, how do you lose but still feel like you're winning? I'm guessing that might mean, Josh, right? How do you go through losing people, connections, relationships, but still yourself, feel like
Right.
you're in a place of winning? How do you process that?
Who was that answered that or asked that? I just want to acknowledge. Just to,
Josh French, he was up at
Josh,
RiseCon with us.
awesome. Josh, great question. And you're not going to be happy, but I don't have the perfect answer on this one. But I can tell you what I've learned along the way. Along the way, see, I think one of the problems with our church back in the day is we lost sight and we lost focus of what God really loves and what God really celebrates. We love the fact that we had large numbers. We love the fact that we had a large building. We love the fact that we had a large youth ministry. We love the fact that we had all the stuff, but we lost sight of what really gets God's heart excited. And what I had to learn along the way, Josh, and anybody else watching out there, is I had to learn to celebrate the wins, no matter how small I thought they were. I had to learn to celebrate the wins according to how God sees what a win is. And there were so many times, Eric, Josh, watching, I had to go back and I said, God, I probably should quit. I asked him only one time, Eric. I said, God, can I quit? And he says, no, you can't. He says, you've got to stay the course. You got to stay the course. And there were several times I would go to the Father and I'd be like, what do you want me doing? He said, I already told you. Stay the course. Stay the course. And that is the title of my next book, Stay the Course. But the issue is we get off focus sometimes. When people are leaving, Josh, we think we're a loser. We think we're a crappy pastor. We think our time is done. We think that God is kind of like pulled our mantle off of us. And the truth is that God is actually wanting you to build something that lasts for generations. And possibly what the people that are there aren't the people to build that. He's got something bigger in mind, and focus on those who have left or those who are leaving. You've got to focus on what the wins are. And I can tell you, the first time I told the church, hey, guess what? Last week we had 2 people commit their heart to Jesus and get saved. This was years ago, Eric. No one applauded. No one got excited. It was like I told them that, 2 people died. And I thought there would be a celebration. And there was nothing. You could hear a pin drop. But now I tell the church, guess what? We have 21 people that's getting baptized. We had 2 people receive Jesus. And they applaud and they roar because we have learned to celebrate what Father celebrates. And if there's a party in heaven when one person receives Jesus, then we're going to party like heaven parties. And we had to learn, Josh, to learn what the wins are. We talk about them. We still do this today as a staff. Every staff meeting, we go around the room, and every person has to share a win. Because for so long, all we had was losses. This many people left the church. This is how much money we have. This is how many people have left. This is how many people are talking about us. And this is what was said. And, I had rumors going around the community that I was going out and getting hammered. That I was going out drinking all the time after services. And I jokingly say I must have been really hammered because I don't remember it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me do just a little bit of real life deal. Angela, if Z's out there on the Xbox, could you ask him to get offline with that? It's making my signal pretty rough here. So anyways, maybe back to it. I need a broader broadband, right? So
I love it.
Anyways, I wasn't going to just walk off screen here. I didn't know what else to go do. So Maybe if Angela's hearing that, that would be great. But it's amazing what has come out of this, and this kind of conversation could go all night, and certainly could go
Right.
for a long time. But the reality is that the need, every leader has such a need for a safe place to be able to walk
Yes.
into some of these scenarios. And that's what your Beyond Betrayal weekends really do, create a safe place where leaders can get real, be real, deal with, because right, the leaders all the time are always having to project this, like, I've got everything together and I'm handling it all. And we have very few places where there's a safe place to interact with others, get it. And you're not going to be looked down upon. You're not going to be criticized, but you're going to have an opportunity to process and heal and feel the strength of support and connection and belonging. So couldn't encourage that to go on, even if you're not involved, Mark, but for any leader to be with your leadership team, be with those that you're working with, and how you guys connect and work and move forward. Because the reality is, if we're going to move in the present reality of hope, in the unconditional assurance Father's goodness prevails, there's got to be a place where that goes beyond just something nice to say, but it actually becomes a livable thing that's going on in our life, where we can live fully alive, where we're not living under the cage of brokenness and betrayal and anguish and exhaustion and despair and all those things connected to that. But the reality that hope is here becomes the boldness to actually look at those wounds caused by betrayal, because most of the time we hide from it. We cover it up and we mask it and we push it off to the back, and it actually takes a significant force of boldness to even look at those things, to even look in the mirror, to look inside here. And so many leaders I know watching right now, watching the playback, every one of us struggle with taking the time to really look at what's going on here, right? We're so busy taking care of everything else, we have a hard time. So that's what we wanted to do tonight, Pastor Mark. Thanks so much for your time this evening, and everyone that jumped in here and caught onto this. Again, Pastor Mark's book, Beyond Betrayal, crosscurrent.tv. You can get a copy of that. You need to, for sure, if you want to do a Beyond Betrayal weekend and have him where you are, to be a part of moving and seeing your organization go forward. Thanks, Michael. Hope equals bold, man. You got it. It would be awesome for you to have Mark with that as well. Mark, most likely, as far as I know, I don't want to put him on the spot, but will be with us in our conference this summer as well, if that works out. But in all of that, trust that you've got something out of this. I would love to hear one or two comments of something that you really got out of what you heard in this. And if you could connect others, tag others, leaders that you know that need to move into healing, into health, need strength, encouragement, need to connect with Mark and what's going on with that. So Mark, I don't want to just drop off and finish here, but any final thing your heart is stirring in your heart you want to share?
Yeah, I would love to close with this thought, talking to all the people that are watching today. And I want you to know that healing from betrayal doesn't happen in just one prayer. Healing from betrayal happens in a journey. And I want you to know that as deep as the betrayal was, that's where the love of Father wants to go. And if you allow the love and the healing of Father to go to that spot, that's where the life will come up again. And you'll experience it in a way that you have never experienced it before. Jesus would never be sitting next to the Father if he didn't go to the cross and if he wasn't betrayed. And you and I are going to be raised. I'm telling you that don't get stuck in the wound, and understand that it's a journey. But God is wanting to heal you. But you can't, as Eric said, hide behind the stuff. You got to talk to somebody. Did I lose you, my friend?
That's awesome, man.
Did I
Sorry,
lose
I had
you?
a little bit of still having a little
All
bit
right.
of glitch here. So sorry on the pod,
That's all right.
but so thankful for the time tonight, and we're so thrilled. The Dealing Hopes are going to be every Monday night on an every other week basis. You're going to get one Monday night, just me, another Monday night with another leader from around, literally around the world. So excited for amazing leaders that we get to walk with and journey with, to come and release what is in their heart, what they carry, so that you can gain from it. So Pastor Mark, thanks. All of Cross Current team, we love you. We
Yes.
believe in you. We're so thrilled for what's going on. Keep moving into where you're going. It's fantastic. So guys, I think that's it for tonight on my end. Pastor Mark, thanks again. Bless you guys, and we'll see you next time. Have a good night.
All right. Love you, buddy.